attendance tonight. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Today is Monday, May 10th. It's now 7 o'clock. I do call the meeting to order and declare that we have a quorum present. This evening, Mr. Mullinack will lead us in the pledges, and Mr. Rector will lead us in the invocation. Everybody will please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Let us pray. My Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, thanking you for the loving kindness and your tender mercy toward us. We thank you for this gathering this evening. We ask for your continued blessings upon this district as we come to the close of this year. We thank you for looking beyond our faults and supplying us with our everyday needs. We have been through some ups and some downs, but with your grace, you brought us through. We ask your blessings upon our superintendent and this board as we begin our meeting this evening. We ask these and all blessings in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Rector, Mr. Mullinack. Agenda item number 2 is public testimony. This is time set aside to hear any public comments. Okay. Let the record reflect no one has signed up. Next item is recognition of Terry Stansberry for 24 years of service on this Board of Trustees. While Mr. Rector isn't with us tonight, as a board, we want to recognize Stansberry. Sorry. I'm trying to retire you too early.
Flying away, man.
We want to recognize Mr. Stansberry for his years of service. As a board, we want to recognize and say thank you for him being an advocate for our students, not only for our students, but our children, our community. During his service to this board, Terry served as board president, vice president. Over the years, Terry's volunteered his time with many organizations in our town, including serving as Little League president and vice president there. And I know his most favorite role was umpire-in-chief for the local league. If you know Terry, you would understand that. One year, Terry was honored to be selected as umpire for the Little League World Series in Williamsport. And I know he and Cheryl had a great time there, and he always talks about that. He's very proud of that, and we're proud of him for being selected. I know he's super proud of that accomplishment. In addition, he's a past board member of the local housing authority and currently serves as a member of the Aransas Pass Crime Board. These are just a few of the things he's done for our community, and he's always willing to volunteer and try to make a difference. On behalf of myself and the fellow board members, I want to publicly thank him for his volunteerism and for everything that he's done for this school district and our community. Anybody have?
I would just like for you to relay to Mr. Stansberry, let him know I've enjoyed the whole 24 years that he's been on the board, because we all served that time together. It's been a pleasure. We went up and down the roads many a times. We had a lot of fun. So tell him we're going to miss him. And tell him just thank you for his dedication he had to APISD.
Next item is the oath of office for our newly elected board members. I know this is a real special time and exciting time for them. Congratulations. And at this time, we're going to follow this housekeeping. I believe we're going to have Miss Juanice Butler be sworn in individually, and then Miss McCall, and then the rest of the trustees will be sworn in as a group.
Yep, I got it.
If there's any family members, you're more than welcome to stand up and take pictures if you'd like.
One thing is, if we take our time, we can I get nervous when I have to speak in public. So when,
Great.
just repeat after me. I,
Juanice Butler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of school board trustee
the duties of the office of school board trustee
or something like that? Aw. Want your fan wrapped there? Really how big those boys are. Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
Lonnie's, come on up.
Officially in now. You in trouble.
Want your husband to come out, or your fiance? My husband,
Yes.
Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute the duties of the office. Of school board trustee. Of the Aransas Pass Independent School District. Of the state of Texas. And will to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And laws of the United States. And of this state. So help me God.
welcome aboard.
The next group has decided to do it all at once.
All at once?
Yes.
Whatever.
You want us up front?
I don't have to.
Well, that's right, that's fine.
I'm the only one that didn't get on the ballot.
I just want everybody.
I got so many questions on why were you on the ballot? I'm like, they told me I could stay another 2 years. He did.
Oh, that's the statement of, that's the oath, statement of elected officers. This is your oath.
Oh, the family came.
Okay, and then I'll need you to sign that. I'll get it back from you. This is, we'll get it straight from you. Is that right?
So we'll go with our name down the line.
Yes, I'll let you. Okay, I, say your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute the duties of the office. Of the school board trustees. Of the Aransas Pass Independent School District. Of the state of Texas. And will, to the best of my ability. Preserve. Protect. And defend the Constitution. And the laws of the United States. And of this state. So help me God.
we get through these formalities and we'll be legal again. The next item is agenda number 5, which is reorganization of the board. This is routine business to reorganize officers after an election. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Ms. Cook to take nominations for president.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up for nominations for the position of president.
I would like to nominate Mr. Galvan for office of president.
I'll second it.
Any
I'll
other
second it.
nominations? Okay, so Mr. Galvan has been nominated for president. We have a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Galvan, I'll turn it back over to you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Our next order of business is to receive nominations for vice president. Do I have a nomination for vice president?
I make a motion, Mr. Johnny Mullinex be the vice president.
We have a nomination for Mr. Mullineck. Are there any other nominations? If there are no nominations, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Diasis. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Mullineck, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll now accept nominations for board secretary.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Edel Diasis.
We have a nomination for Ms. Diasis. Do we have any other nominations? There are no other nominations? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Mullineck. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Adele, congratulations.
Hey, good notes.
I want to back up real quick. On behalf of the board, we want to congratulate you guys, and we look forward to working with you. And we know it's an exciting time for you all, and we're going to do great things together. So, congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Agenda item number 6 are district recognitions, Panthers, and employees of the month for the month of May. Ms. Cook?
I have a couple of extra little additions here because since we did this, we have lots of good things going on. So I want to start first with a lovely young lady that is here this evening, Miss Evelyn Edison. She is one of our seniors that is our first dental hygienist program recipient. So if you would come up here, we'd like to recognize you. She is the first one in our district to complete this program. Had an internship in Ingleside, correct? And she is, I believe, also they're looking at going ahead and hiring you here. Yes. So not only has she finished the program, the first one ever for Aransas Pass ISD, but she is also now going to go to Del Mar and complete her coursework. But she also will have a job while she's doing
Awesome.
that. So we're very, very proud of her. We wanted to bring her tonight and let you celebrate with her.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Awesome story. You should be. Awesome.
So great, and I believe I was just told by by Kelly that we have 5 that are interested in going into the dental hygienist program now. Thanks, and that's a large part to Evelyn being a trailblazer.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you bet.
The parents as well. That's your success. Her success is yours.
And while we're on that subject, I'm going to go ahead and we have one of our counselors, Miss Kelly Pape Sims, here this evening. And I asked her to come and to give you a little background on some exciting things that are going on that will be bringing more students just like Evelyn to you in some of our what we have construction careers training program, the students we have in that, and emerging professionals program. Some wonderful opportunities, great number of students that I will say Kelly has been very instrumental in. I think sometimes she chased them down the hall to convince them this is definitely something they wanted to pursue. So great opportunities for them. And I asked her to come and give you a little mini presentation so you'd be aware of some of the more wonderful, exciting things to come. Kelly?
Thank you so much, Ms. Cook. I appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here and Gosh, what a great night to show up. Congratulations, people I know and new faces. But I love this district, and I'm just so happy to be able to present to you tonight some of the amazing things that are going on at our high school. I just had to look up here at the wall where it says, "We believe that our school district is a catalyst in our community. It is our mission to encourage, motivate, nurture, and inspire everyone through our commitment to academic excellence." And that is such an amazing statement, because that's what all of you do, and it's what all of us at the high school and the elementary schools and the middle schools in our community are trying to do. We are at an amazing time right now of change and innovation in our community, and it is because of what is happening around us. There is so much growth in industry and in development, and our kids are becoming a part of it, and I'm so excited to share just a little bit of that with you tonight. The two programs that I'm going to talk about are, first I'm going to talk about the Emerging Professionals Program, and that's this one little brochure that has the orange on it there. We started out with 37 students that originally were interested, 11th graders that were interested in this program, which is funded by a grant, and from Corpus Christi, a grant from, I think it's Education and Excellence Program. And what was really exciting was when they came and they said, "We want to share this with your 11th graders, and this is an opportunity for them to get a paid internship their senior year." I was like, yes, pick us, and Ms. Cook and Ms. Hale was on board. Everybody was on board. And so we started out, like I said, with 37 kids. And through the process of making sure that they were going to be committed, we've kind of lost some of those kids along the way. But we are at 14 kids right now, which once I talked to Robin Roy Rice, I think her last name is, she's from Corpus. She said we are one of the largest districts of students that are going to be participating this year. So that is exciting. She said she's getting 2 or 3 from some of the school districts. And I was like, kind of sad at first that we only had 14, but she's like, no, that's amazing that they made it this far and you have 14 kids. So it's pretty exciting. What basically is it's a year-long program that's designed to help high school students with the interest in high-demand careers so that they can get that head start. So what's going to be happening is we have 5 students who are going to be in the education area. They're going to be focusing on education. Those kids are going to be working in our elementary schools here in Aransas Pass with teachers. They're going to be working with them throughout the entire year for about 2 to 3 hours a day, getting those skills so that they can then go on and become teachers, hopefully coming back to Aransas Pass someday. We have 4 students who are going to be in the area of STEM, which is computer science, math, and technology. Those kids are amazing kids. 2 of those so far are going to be working in our offices, either, I think of the local offices, what were we saying, the
City Hall?
The City Hall, yes. Sorry about that. Just
Yes.
slipped my mind. The City Hall, they're going to be two kids that are going to be working there. We're still trying to get some of the other businesses in Aransas Pass on board with us, and the other students are going to be business students. And so some of them may be working right here in the district office. So it's pretty exciting. It's new, it's innovative, and we're also going to be paying them $10 an hour. So that's kind of an incentive for a lot of these kids to want to do this program. And they've had to jump through a lot of hurdles. One of the hurdles they had to jump through was they had to give up part of their summer. 6 weeks of their summer will be a program where they're going to be learning soft skills, where they're going to be learning how to interact with adults and other professionals. Then the other part of their training is going to be a dual credit Del Mar class that they're going to be required to take during the summer. And then as soon as school starts, they will be implemented into their program and spend the entire school year in that program. Pretty exciting. So that's the first program. This sheet gives you a little bit more information on that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email or call our office. We can share, whatever information we can with you where we're at this point. We're really in the midst of trying to get the ball rolling. This is the first year for us, but it's pretty exciting. Number one, that we got picked, and number two, that we accepted, and number three, that we have this many kids that are going to be involved. And then the other program we just got, I just heard about this about 3 weeks ago. And they called me and said, there is a shortage of construction workers in this area. Do you have any seniors that want a job starting at the end of this summer? And I said, of course we do. And I've got lots of seniors that are saying, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet when I leave here. So I hit them up first. And we started with about 15 kids who were super interested in the Construction Careers Training Program. We're down to about 5 students, but because the program started so quickly, that's why I think we didn't get as many as I had hoped. But still, 5 is really good. These kids have already started their program. They are through the month of May. They are doing lots of internship stuff. They're learning, some of these job skills that they're going to need for on the job, the training that they're going to need. And then at the end of the summer, these construction companies are going to accept them, hopefully with open arms. And these 5 kids are going to have a job that they're going to be getting paid really good money coming right out of high school. So this is a program I'm hoping, like I said, I just heard about it 3 weeks ago, but we were able to put some kids together quickly and get this going. And I think this is going to be something that in the future is going to be a really good program for our kids. This was another grant, and it's paid for all by the Education Employment Partners. So this is pretty cool. And just a lot of stuff. Our kids, our high school kids, y'all got to come see them someday, because it's so exciting to just walk through the hallways and hear the buzz of getting ready for graduation and getting ready for their lives. So many of them have decided on colleges, on careers. And we've done lots of different investigations with Craft Training Center and all of the different opportunities that are right here in their backyard. And we've ensured them that they don't have to leave Aransas Pass if they don't want to, that there are so many opportunities for them right here. A lot of them are going off to college, but a lot of our kids are going to be staying really close by, and we're really excited to have the 96-ish. We're right in that area, kids that are going to be graduating this year with lots of hopes and dreams that are moving in the right direction. So that's all I have for you.
Very much.
you.
It's great information. Thank you.
We appreciate her enthusiasm, and we appreciate her going after those kids and helping them see sometimes what they can't see for themselves. So thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And finally, on the recognition, we do have our monthly Panthers and Employees of the Month. We have a video. Let me say their names first. Panthers of the Month for May 2021, Ashley Diaz Castro at Falk, Braden Hernandez, Charlie Marshall, Landon Meadows, AC Blunt, Marilyn Cruz at the high school. Our Employees of the Month for May of 2021, Teresa Ramos at Falk, Margaret Montemayor at Charlie Marshall, Delisha Wood, AC Blunt, Julie Clark at the high school, Pam Bennett at administration, and Oscar Hinojosa, maintenance and transportation. And hopefully the next time we do Panthers of the Month in September, which would be our next time to do that, we will have them here in person if all goes well with all of our restrictions. But for tonight, we're doing it as we've done this year. We have a video letting you see them receive their awards.
You see? I'll slide down and come down here a little bit further. I'll move back.
behalf of the board, we want to congratulate our students and our employees for being recognized. Next item is agenda item number 7, which are the superintendent reports. Ms. Cook, I'll turn this portion over to you.
Yes, before I forget, I want to say this in case you've noticed, we have cameras now placed in different positions, and I want to thank Mr. Brew and his team for helping us work through. As you know, our video camera had died several months back, and we were looking at how to update and bring better quality video and sound. We did get quotes, and they were quite large. So we circled back around, and I keep wanting to call you Coach Brew over there, Mr. Brew. He said, I think we can do this. So they put their heads together and they've come up with a way. So we've got the first point of implementation tonight with the video cameras. I think they're going to do some tweaking with that. And then our hope is when you come in next month, we have 2 very large screen TVs, monitors that would be put on each side, and we no longer have it like this so that you won't have to do all that leaning over and poor quality. So he's working to set this up to be state of the art. So we'll have good quality pictures, sound. That way we can use it for our board meetings. And then we also use this room for a training center also for the district. So I just wanted you to be aware if you were wondering about the little cameras. We're not spying on you. They're actually recording this evening. So they're working on it. Hopefully by June we'll have it all together. With that said, Vince has been waiting very patiently from Weaver Jacobs. He's representing us tonight for the athletic complex construction. Todd was unable to be due to a conflict in his schedule to be here. So I'm going to turn it over to Vince so he can catch us up on the latest and greatest of what's going on out there. And we do have another change order we need to talk to you about this evening. As you know, with construction, sometimes you never know what's going to happen, what you're going to hit, and so we need to discuss that tonight with you also.
Welcome.
Board book software, we're having an issue connecting, so if you're trying to follow along with me, if I'm not able to follow the leader, so you'll have to go along, and I can't put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, I was like,
I kept hitting it, wasn't doing nothing.
Sorry,
Yeah, I
I
was-
can't follow the leader, and I can't put it up on the screen, but you can still access all your documents.
right.
Okay. Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of you guys, the newly elected officials as well as the re-elected officials. As you guys can probably see, there's been a lot of work going on out there on the construction site. The buildings are almost topped out at this point as far as the concession building and the ticket booth. We're going to start working on the roof. We actually started working on the roofing today, and that'll continue throughout the next 2 weeks. So the big push is to get the buildings completely dried in. The other thing that you guys probably noticed is the baseball field does not look like a baseball field anymore. We've continued, the softball field is about to look like the same, just a field in the next few days. And we're actually grading the dirt there, so it's just going to look like a dirt field for the time being. And then we'll continue to basically rebuild the fields. We also continued our underground work with the stuff that you just can't see. The main sanitary lines continuing past the softball field, as well as the track is beginning to, we're starting to cut the track up and come across with the new drainage for the football field as well. The old ticket booths, if you've seen those, they look a lot different. Those have been sandblasted, and those will get a new veneer that will match the new concession and the new ticket booth so that it'll all come together and look as one. The metal building stuff is still on schedule to come starting next week or next month. So we're still on the schedule for that. And as far as the project as a whole, we're still on schedule to basically turn over the football field before the football season starts, and then the baseball fields will be about a month after, so the end of September. You guys got any questions as far as what you've seen out there? Or?
Yeah, the concession still on schedule too?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And how much of a factor would rain be for you at this point of the?
We're in a pretty good spot right now. The main thing is just getting those roofs on. So that's really a big push. But
It's supposed to rain Wednesday.
We anticipate some rain days throughout the schedule.
Okay.
And a day here and there is not going to kill us. If we had a month of rain, then obviously that's gonna hurt us. But getting the pads poured and getting those walls up was a huge milestone for us. And the next one is getting that roof on. So, but with having the pad there, having a bunch of mud out there isn't going to affect us to continue on the building. So if it rains one day, the next day we can keep working. So that's huge. As far as what Mrs. Cook was saying, as far as the change goes, so we did run into an issue as far as the drainage goes, the sanitary drainage on the concession building. With the elevation that we came out of the building, we were going to tie into an existing sanitary line that was actually coming from the weight room building. And when we went to check that line, it's significantly higher than what we perceived it to be as far as what was on the drawings. And I believe that may have come from some old drawings that we had received. So we looked at every possible option that we could and tried to come up with the best option for you guys and for the district. We looked at tying into the existing sanitary line that's coming out of the basketball facility, as well as all the existing sanitary lines that are on that side of the property. Unfortunately, they were all too high for us to tie into, so we're basically having to run a new line from the concession building all the way to the pump station on the other side of the street. So you're talking close to 1,000 foot of piping that we're having to add than what was anticipated. So,
Pump station across on McMillan?
yes, sir. Yep, the city's pump station.
It's a long run.
It's a long run, and with the elevation that we have to hit, I mean, we're going to be running pretty deep across that field. So.
But I don't understand, obviously, the elevation issue. So you can't tie in because the existing on the other two facilities is too high?
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't we just build high since we haven't built yet?
Well, no. So our sanitary, we're limited with the foundation of the building. So we've got
Already
beams
poured
that are
that
under the
part
ground that we have
already.
to come underneath. So we're limited on that elevation. We actually came up about 2 foot higher than what was originally shown. So we tried to get as much as we could, but it's still just not enough to hit that tie-in point. So the clean out that we were trying to come to is actually about 5 foot higher than what it should be. So what that means, so we went back and did the pricing exercise with our contractor that does all the sanitary and all our dirt work. And for that additional piping, we're looking at $96,000. That includes running the piping, the excavation, dewatering. And the one thing with the dewatering is basically we're going to do a plug number for dewatering. It's one of those things we don't know until we dig. If we're in a dry spell, then we may not have to use as much of it. If we get some rain, then we're going to have to use some more of the dewatering. So basically, we've got a plug number for basically dewatering that whole line if it's needed. Hopefully, it's not needed, but we won't know again until we start digging.
And you have that document, because we just got it this morning, and you have it at your place, the change order, and then I think he has the project analysis he's going to hand out. It should have been right there on top of that little book.
So this sheet that I'm handing out, this is basically where we're at on allowances and any
Yes.
changes.
Got it, thank you.
What is the natural length of this? Is that not excessively long?
Thank you.
And how effective will it be if it's at 1,000 feet is a long way to?
Yeah, the length's not the issue. So the engineers looked at it, and basically when you run a long line like that, you just have to maintain a certain slope. And so that's where we run into the issue where the other lines are too high. Because we have basically for a 4-inch and 6-inch line, you have to maintain a 1% slope. For an 8-inch, it's half a percent slope. So when you're looking at those lengths, that's where we end up, where we're just so deep compared to the lines that are already there. But as far as functionality, I mean, you already have lines out there that are running that far. And they're at the standard slope, and they're working fine.
Now, you mentioned that you were trying to tap into the weight room and the high school gym.
Yes, ma'am.
What about coming this way towards AC Blunt or any of the other lines?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's none that are. Those are actually the closest lines to the building. So we can't come on this side of the street because there's no sanitary lines for us to tap onto.
When you run the lines, is it going to be a direct line, or are you going to go around the baseball field and
So
it's
since
going to go underneath the baseball field?
no, it won't go underneath any of the fields. We're actually going to run along the left side of the softball field, and it'll turn right at the end of the softball field, and then basically go straight out to that pump station from there.
Okay. Yeah, where the obstacle course is over there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, can you explain what this says
Yes, ma'am.
for me, please?
Yeah, so the allowance recap here, so we originally, when the project was set up, we had $30,000 in our owner contingency. We had $30,000 in construction contingency. We had $10,000 in the room signage, and then we had a $25,000 balance in our well point. So if you see the items that I have listed, that's basically any deducts or adds that we've had so far throughout the project. I have the $96,000 listed here under the owner contingency. And if you look at the items, basically there's totals for each columns. Excuse me. And so if you look at the owner contingency, we're showing $104,000 in the red. And then if you look at the contractor contingency, we're at $16,000 to the good. The room signage, it's showing $10,000 to the good, but we still have to buy that work out. So I've gotten pricing, but I'm still working with going back and forth with some of these contractors to get within that budget. I foresee us being right around that $10,000 mark for the signage. For the well point, we're pretty much done with dewatering as for what that budget was for. So we should have some savings, about $1,900 in there. So the total of where we're at right now is $75,000 to the bad, but we also got to remember that room signage, there's an additional $10,000 that I foresee us using there, so that would take that to the $85,000. And then there is one change that we're looking at right now for some electrical rerouting on the baseball field. That pricing, I'm foreseeing it being around $8,000 for that. So if you add basically those two together, that's the additional $18,000 to our 75. So you're sitting around about $92,000, $93,000.
So the concrete pad expansion for the 20-gallon tank instead of the 5,000, was that going to be part of this project, or we need to do, is Multichem going to do that? Did we?
So the tank, we're going to give back the money for the tank.
Right.
And then we're having additional costs for the concrete.
Okay.
I think that it'll probably end up that it'll be a deduct back to you guys
Okay.
as a whole.
Okay.
I don't foresee that going the opposite way because
Okay.
for how much that tank was.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the 10,000 was for the room signage, the additional 8,000 was for what, sir?
That is, we're looking into an issue with the electrical routing on the baseball field, with how the panel was going to tie in to the lighting.
Tell me what do you mean by dewatering? You pumping the water out?
Yes, sir. In this region, the water's so high that whenever we're running anything underground, we have to pump the water out of the ground to disperse it somewhere else so that we have a dry enough ditch that we can run everything.
So this sheet that you handed out this evening is before the change order? That's
No,
all right?
that includes, if you go up to the owner contingency at the very top,
Okay.
it's the second one from the bottom
Oh,
there.
the 96,000's there.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That was in your board book. You had the very crude Excel spreadsheet. What I was trying to do was take his information off of here prior to all this, so kind of giving you an idea of the changes we'd had, because I knew he was working on this change order, and I was hoping we'd have it by tonight, so I wanted to kind of give you be prepared. And so when we spoke today, he was kind enough to redo in his very nice format for you so you can see it, try to see what's already been done and then what's needed now.
So where are we at with our timetable along with this change order? I mean, you guys are needing this information and approval to move forward.
Yes, but as far, I mean, are you asking when, as far as the schedule of the project, we don't see this pushing the schedule out.
And this is an information item for us tonight.
Well, it is, but, so on that, to be clear, so make sure we're clear, the next time they will meet will be June. So if you choose to, if you want to do an official approval of this, June, the question on the table, will that cause you issues if they wait till June?
Yeah, we need to get that approval
They need-
before June.
Yeah, so by policy, change orders, as your designee, it doesn't need formal board action for that. If that's your choice, though, if you want to
That was
do,
anything below 25,000.
this is under the construction umbrella. This is not budget, we're not moving money from the budget or anything like that, that we already have put aside, taken out money. You've already approved for money to be moved over from fund balance to cover this entire project, and we took excess. We have excess over. So you've already approved that. What was it, 3 million?
And is
3.2.
Is that taking from that 3.2, or is it in addition to?
It will be
moving over
taking
more?
from the 3.2. So if
Okay.
there's any more money that needs to be over 3.2, of course, then that has to be brought back to you for board approval. But there's enough money that has been moved over for this project. And the reason there's that leadway is just for this reason, is that when you're doing a construction project, it doesn't always fall right when you all meet. So we can, if you would feel more comfortable thinking about it, my suggestion would be we have a special board meeting ASAP for you to come back and formally approve it. Or you can give the nod and say, as your designee working with this project, knowing that this, we really don't have a choice. I mean, we have to do this. So it would just be a formality of you saying it, but I wanted that level. I was not going to give my approval even as your designee, and thank goodness, that's why I was pushing for it, that we got it to you so you at least see it, because by policy it says the superintendent will make sure I report to you any of the change orders, especially to this level. What we've done to this point, anything over 25,000, I still brought to you, like the netting was 33,000, because I feel more comfortable doing it that way, having you have official approval. But because of the time frame and we don't want to slow anything down, my recommendation would be, unless you just feel very uncomfortable with it or have another idea or need to think about it, that you just say you're going to allow me as your designee to sign off on this change order and we move forward.
Before doing so, how would we resolve that over to 75,000, where it leaves us, if the board, or if, in going through with the change order, it's showing us in the red the 75,000? I don't know if that's an administrative question or project manager
Yeah,
question.
they'll basically, when we're closing out, part of our payment process when we are closing out, like I said, we've already set over 3.2 million for this project. And so when we're closing that out, that will be a part of the change order process.
Okay.
You'll have documents. They'll send us documents. It's all documented and vetted out to make sure that it's done that way. And like I said, any more money above what you already approved has to be brought back to you. So I can't do a change order above and beyond anything that we have allotted for
And
this.
this may not be fair to ask, but do you know how close we are to the 3.2 with this being already included in it? Do y'all know where we're at?
Do you remember how much over we went?
We still got a long way to go with this project, so.
Have it in front of me.
Awfully
We were
expensive.
expecting on the FEMA report that you have, when all is said and done, that 3 million that we moved to cover all expenses was because we had that waiting lag time from FEMA. When all was said and done, our prediction with the numbers we had was that we would be only using $1,039,000. So this actually would be bringing it back up. So we have monies,
Okay.
a little, almost $2 million extra on there. Once FEMA settles up with us, we should be putting that back into fund balance.
Okay.
So just so we're clear, because I know it can be confusing and muddy and murky, just as kind of a background, when we were looking at approving this project, we had some funding source from FEMA because some of the construction that we had done during the bond qualified for FEMA funding. So we went through a process with the business office and Ms. Stansberry leading that and Ms. Cook of applying for all those funds. In that application process, it went from an application to a federal review to an obligated funds back to the state for them to re-audit and for them to award. In that process, we came up with a dollar amount that we should reimburse from FEMA. Knowing that, we decided, based on that information of receiving those obligated funds, that we could step out and do this project knowing that we were gonna receive those funds sometime in August is what the target date for them to close those books out. So what we had to do is take money out of our savings account, our fund balance account, and move it over for these projects, all in the thought process of FEMA's gonna fund
Give
us
it
in
back.
August and get it back. So when you hear $3 million that it's costing us, well, that's what we've taken out of our savings account to do the project. But the real $1 million is once it clears and all the calculations are made. So that's why Ms. Stansberry is saying we have some excess money there for those contingencies. But as you're doing projects like this, $100,000 goes real quick when you have an unforeseen expenditure like that.
So those obligated FEMA dollars will then enable us to restore the fund balance?
Correct.
Okay.
And is the FEMA money on track? Because obviously the government has several delays at this time. So are we anticipating that those will be received on time?
Yes, and we're going to do a FEMA report here shortly.
Perfect.
Yes, and we'll catch you up on all that. So yes, we are pushing, because we have to have it done by the end of August.
Okay. And
So-
I have another question for you. I'm looking at the itemized bill here, and I noticed that you said we had 1,000 feet of piping going across McMullen. The whole piping, the new revised piping will be about 1,000 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're only dewatering about 898 feet of that? And is that what we truly anticipate, or?
Yeah, so some of the piping that we originally had in the scope they already had the dewatering covered for that portion. So it's not showing the full amount that we're gonna actually run because part of that was already in their bid.
Okay, perfect. And are we guaranteed to need the dewatering on all 898
We will,
feet?
no. So, and that's why I talked to Todd, our architect, earlier today, and what he suggested is basically we're sending it up as like a contingency fund,
Okay.
and we'll use it as needed. So hopefully we don't need all of it, but that would be like a worst-case scenario if we had to dewater the entire run.
Based on
Okay.
what the water table is. what you
Correct.
find the water table
Yeah.
to be. So the question before us is, from what I've heard, is there's no way around doing this. So the question is, do we want to authorize the superintendent or the designee to move forward with this change order?
I
If
would-
anybody's
I support
uncomfortable,
that,
speak.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, I
anybody
support.
uncomfortable with doing that?
Sounds like we've exhausted all directions. So,
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
You have your direction?
Otherwise,
Alright,
it put
then
us further
we'll
back
move
behind.
forward.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that, and I know you understand that, and I have to say that they have worked very diligently to try to be timely. As you can tell, they're doing things quickly. They take care of business. So if this could have been done a different way, they would have found it, because they've already saved us some money, as you can see, in some ways, trying to do things differently, and I know they'll continue to do that and take good care of us. We've really so far been a great project to work together on. So thank you, Vince.
We
Vince, I would
appreciate it.
like to ask one last question.
Yes,
and
sir.
It's more safety related. I noticed the other day when we had a meeting, there's directly behind the baseball park where we have some of the old telephone poles,
Okay.
that we seem to be moving some poles in that area. There's some that are splintered and some with spikes in there. We have children moving across, Charlie Marshall, across that lot there. If maybe somebody can take a look at that and.
Yeah, I'll get with Pat in the
Put a
morning.
barricade or move them or something.
Okay.
I
Is
know
the
how
old telephone poles you said?
Yeah, I know how
We
kids
actually-
are.
yeah.
They tend to be a little
Ambitious.
with stuff like
No, I
that.
understand.
So if
Yeah,
y'all
we
can just
actually
take a
have
look at
Charlie and his staff where they're going to cut, I think that some of those are our poles,
Oh, are they?
actually.
Okay.
And we're having them they're going to grind those down, and then we're trying to find a way to get rid of them. They're creosote type
Right.
poles, and so you can't just dispose of them, so we're looking for other options of how to get rid of
Ah,
them.
that's why
But
maybe
for
somebody
now, we're going
donated
to
them
make
to
them
us.
as safe as we can.
That's why.
That's why.
That and those railroad
Right,
ties.
exactly.
I got, well, you know, Ms. Cook, when we did the walkthrough the other day, we talked about that open culvert thing back there where the drainage ditch and headed over in the parking lot, that section was come back. And we said that's gonna be covered. Do we know if that's gonna be covered or not? You said you thought it maybe, it was supposed to be
No,
covered.
the right behind, he's talking about right behind the bleachers, that open where it comes out. I understand that's going to be concrete there, where
Yeah,
the
so
baseball bleachers are.
there's going to be a concrete wall where you're talking where that storm outlet is.
Yes.
Yeah, there's going to be a concrete wall, and I'm already looking into basically doing like a little fence or something over top of it, so somebody, they're going to see it.
We just wanna make sure for
Fall in,
safety
yeah,
wise, the
yeah.
bleachers being that close to that
Yes.
open area that
Yeah.
nobody can
Well, I
fall
believe
into.
there's
Yeah.
fencing, chain link fence that goes between the bleachers and that, and then they're working on some other, because it is directly behind the bleachers.
Yeah, if we need to, I'll have my fencing guys put a little fence right there, so we'll make sure it's safe.
Are there any other questions on the sports complex?
Yeah, I want to ask on the parking lot. I know we're doing the new addition to the parking lot. On the existing parking lot, are we gonna blacktop that to,
Yes, it gets refinished.
we're gonna get refinished to
Yes,
match
sir.
the?
Yeah, so it'll look like one brand new parking lot when we're done with it.
Any other questions? Vince, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Thank you for the
Thank you.
information. The next item is the enrollment report.
You'll see in your board packet our enrollment report. This was for the fifth 6 weeks. At the end of that, on the 4/16th of '21, our enrollment was 1629. We have had a little dip here as we are ending the year for various reasons. We do have quite a few students that have been moving out of the area, probably due to jobs and relocating. As you know, our budgetary goal for ADA this year was 1637, and when I average it out, we're sitting at about 1632. So we're going to be right there. Now, how they sprinkle the dust on it at TEA and what they do when they figure it all out, I don't know if anybody knows how that comes out. But I feel like we're going to be just right there, and they're holding harmless for our percentage of not only the ADA, but also for attendance rates due to the COVID this year. So because of hold harmless, it makes us breathe a little bit easier as we continue to get everyone back. But just as a reminder to you, so as we look ahead and think about budget for this next year and projecting out, just since January 5th, we've had about, and I didn't get the last count, so the last time I looked, we've had 127 new students enroll in our district. So we are having a movement coming in. Of course, we've had 32 that pulled out to homeschool. We've had 73 that moved out of the area. And then we graduated 4 from our AEP program. So it's kind of like they've come in, then we've had some go out. So the hope is that as we're seeing this movement and we're hearing a lot, because we do have the rooftops available, we have apartments available, whereas a lot of our surrounding districts do not. So a lot of the families moving in for Exxon and Steel Dynamics, they're looking to move to Aransas Pass. And so we're very hopeful and believe that if we continue to see this movement in and people settle and stop moving out, going elsewhere, kind of get their find their niche, that they'll find it here, and that our enrollment will look really great next year. So we've been wanting to see that since Harvey. I believe we were at we were over 1,700 students pre-Harvey. So it'd be great. There's really no reason we couldn't reach that again this next year. If everybody comes, we get all the kids back that are, because we've got a lot of kids still out that I've got 32 that I know of since January 5th, but I don't even have the true count of students that decided to stay home this year due to COVID. So there's still a lot of potential there. So
Do you know the pulse of the 10th grade, why that attendance is so low, 89%? Is there
at the 10th grade?
Is there just a group staying home and doing it all virtual, or?
Well, no, they don't get to do it virtual. No,
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
so
don't get to do it virtual. You're
That's
just
just low
absent.
attendance rate.
Have that many not
Yeah.
engaged in?
Yes, we are seeing, and we're
Truancy
really
kicking
working
in?
on some. We're having a lot of disengagement, more so than ever before. A lot, especially at the high school level. We have had more students that we're having to talk to for mental, social reasons, suicide. We have a couple of that have lost both of their parents this year. We have a lot of that fallout from this time is beginning to show up. And so our counselors have been working diligently to work with them and their families. We're working as a district team to put into place the help that we're going to need as we move forward for all of our students. We've seen young students, even at Falk, acting out that have never acted out before. So I think at this high school level, that may be some of what that is. We have some that are trying to still work because they were working when they could do remote, and I think some are still trying to work to help support their families. So we have a mirage of things that are happening that are that's not the right word, but an array of things is what I meant to say, an array of reasons why we that these students are struggling. So we're working together to find out how we're going to reach in, help them, give them the social-emotional help they need so that we can get them back focused on their academics. Things like the program that that Kelly told us about earlier tells us, give hope to some of those students of what they can do to still get their education, maybe have some an internship and make some money for their families. So we have a lot of new challenges that are going to come out of as we come out of this pandemic time.
The seniors, it shows what 88%, and I think last 6 weeks it was low as well for the seniors. How's that going to affect their graduation? Do we have any idea whether they're still going to be able to do that, or are they going to have to go make up time during the summer? Or?
They don't meet their 90% time for they'll have to do credit recovery. So they've got to be passing, make their 90% seat time, and so they're working diligently. And she was saying that day it was like 96ish, because right now there's probably some that I don't know how many there are right now, but there are some that are sitting on, they've got to get some things done or they will not be walking that stage. They'll have to come this summer. So, and that's hard choices to make, but
they're making them. So
there's things we're doing the best we can to put it out there and support them, but then you've got to do your job.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So Ms. Cook, try to figure out how I want to say this. I know everyone works hard and tirelessly to reach out, but you know as well as I do that when that parent receives that phone call, it's never Johnny or Jenny or Jimmy. How are we reaching out to make contact with them, and what effort is the campus doing if there's a student that's in jeopardy
of not graduating
because of their attendance time? Are they able to make up that time?
Yes, they have we have Saturday school that we've been doing this. We have Mary Morales. She goes out, she knocks on doors, she hunts down people. We have two grants that are in the high school
You probably forgot now because it's been a while back since we talked about those. One of those is nothing but she's here, I can't remember, it's through Root Ed, I think is that one. And her sole purpose is to find students and make sure that they are not dropouts. And so we have Mary that's hired by the district. We have this other lady that works through that grant program, and they are constantly calling, emailing, calling the parents, making home visits. They make home visits together. We've tried to do the whole truancy with taking to the court, not getting a lot of help there right now. So we're trying to work through that. So there is, yes, sir, there is much being done, and no one can say that they did not know, because they do know.
So we're making sure we're getting all that documented down of,
Oh,
of the
yes,
point of
yes, sir.
contact and who they talk to, like
Yes,
the parents
sir.
and stuff. So if somebody comes back later on and says, I never knew that, then we contact you on these dates
Oh,
and
we're
talk to
very
you
good at
directly.
that.
And
Yes, sir.
Graduation and cheerleading are always the conflicts.
Yes. No, they are very aware of what they need to know. They've known it for quite some time, and they are constantly reminded of it.
Okay.
And then it becomes their choice. And it's not just them, but their parents. They are very aware of what they need to do.
all right, thank you.
Mrs. Cook, in addition to Saturday school, they still can, if they're working, we're talking about high schoolers, so if they're working and they can't come to Saturday school, they still can do so during the week, before school or after school?
Are they still doing
I know
the
that was in
before and
place at some time.
They're there during any non-scheduled class that they have early release and they stay and.
Then they have the credit.
Okay.
It's non-scheduled class, they get hours for it.
Okay,
They do everything you can think of it, they probably do it to try to get these kids, where they need to be.
okay.
Because our number one, that's our ultimate goal as an educational institution, is to graduate the students. So when it comes down to the wire, we're doing everything we can on our side to make sure that happens for them. But there are some students still, even with all that support, help, and encouragement, they still just don't do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I didn't know about that one.
Any other questions on the enrollment report?
Oh, I do. How do we compare to other districts? Because I know in our area, it's still open enrollment, correct? So you have people that live in one community and,
For transfers?
For transfers?
Do we accept transfers? Is that what you're
Yes, we
asking?
do accept transfers.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes, and we have quite a few. I can't tell you how many off the top of my head, but I could look that up for you. I'll send that to you. I'll put that in the weekly update.
Thank you.
The next item is C, the lab confirmed positive COVID-19 cases.
We've given you our updated positive COVID cases as of 5/7/21. You'll see staff members, and this is since we started back in June of 21 is when we started keeping these numbers. We've had 31 staff members and 45 students. And we went several weeks there. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks with no cases, and then this past week we had 1 case, no contact. So it's really, thankfully, due to everyone doing what they need to do. I think with the shots and so forth. We had quite a few students. I meant to ask Sally that. Do you know how many students we had? I saw them when I went over to get my second shot. We opened it up for the 16 and older, and I saw quite a few of our students that were here. They were also getting their vaccinations. So we've been very blessed. When you look at the numbers some of the other districts have suffered with, especially over Robstown, Alice area, Mathis, they have really suffered greatly. But we've been very blessed and thankful that this is all that we have seen, and we've only got 3 more weeks to go. So,
Do you know how many staff members actually got the vaccine?
we
Or the
have about
district-wide?
70. I believe Sally told me 75% have been
Wow,
vaccinated.
that's
Do you know another
impressive.
number? That's what she told me last. 75%.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Next item is the calendar of upcoming events.
Because this is a very busy time of year, we're trying to keep you updated on it. You kind of see all the different things that are coming up. We'd love for you to attend any that you're able to attend. If you need any further information on them, you can. We've tried to go back and last year we did everything virtually. This year we're trying to do as much as normal in the normal process as possible. So you'll see National Honor Society tomorrow night at the high school cafeteria. Scholarship awards will still be virtual, so we'll have a link and everything sent out that you can see that. Torch awards, tentatively 6 p.m. at AC Blunt. Kindergarten graduations, you've got 2 opportunities, if you can make one or both, to see those little babies graduate. We did split them up so we have more room to spread everyone out at the Civic Center. High school theater is going to present Grease. This should be fun. And this is, you got all those dates, so one of those nights, we'd like some good entertainment. I think they'd love for you to come and anytime they see any of the admin or board members, you don't know the difference that makes. So if you have a chance to be there, and I know it's hard sometimes, believe me, sometimes I look at my calendar and think I don't know which one to go to. But it's important for us to be out there and support them. Then you see June 1st is our high school graduation ceremony. We're doing it at Waterburger Field. Looks like it's going to be open seating, no limits. So they'll be able to bring one and all in to see their kiddos graduate. We are going to transport the seniors by bus over for their safety, and then they can leave with their families if they so choose. We haven't, y'all asked about busing others. We haven't really opened that up to do that unless you feel like that's it. We were more worried about getting the seniors over there safely, but do you think that's something that someone had mentioned that? I asked before, and we didn't take, the recollection was that we didn't take anyone except the students.
Yeah,
over.
when we went to American Bank Center.
Yes.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember. I was just thinking
Yeah.
of some of the parents, like grandparents or something, they'd have to find, if they can't drive over there, they may, but again, they would have somebody with them, probably drive them over there
Right,
anyhow, so,
right.
you know.
Yeah, okay. And then our June 9th and the 23rd is our board superintendent goal setting sessions that we'll have here. Looking forward to that. And you kind of see some of the things coming up, but we just wanted you to be aware of all that is before us. It's coming very, very quickly. So any questions on that?
Could you make sure, Blaze, give us a little warning before these dates come up? I'll get the ripping and running, and I forgot all about it.
Yeah, we'll try to remember to shoot you a text so
All right.
that you can.
That'll work.
Because she has to sometimes remind me where I'm supposed to be. Aren't you supposed to be somewhere?
So just as an information item, we've been working on setting those goals. With the COVID outbreak last spring, things have kind of slowed different projects we were working on. That was one of them. We decided to hold until the election was over to see if there was going to be a change and to make sure that our new trustees had a chance to participate in that. So that's what those sessions will be for us to set those goals for our evaluation of our superintendent. Kara, was that it?
On that, yes. Sorry, I always have long superintendent's report, lots of stuff going on.
E is the ESSER.
The ESSER 3.
ESSER 3.
ESSER 3, yes. So ESSER 1 was actually, if you remember, was, I don't remember how much that was, but it helped us with the onset of the pandemic, and we had funding that helped us with a lot of our cleaning supplies and all of that. So it was kind of that first federal funded. There's some ESSER 2 they're still working on. I don't know how we jumped to 3 before we finished up 2, so we haven't totally heard about ESSER 2, but so there's something else out there that we might get. But this one is very exciting. I almost did a cartwheel, but didn't after I saw this. So we knew they were working on it. It was federal funding. They were trying to figure out how they were going to do it. They finally sent out an email, and when I opened the email and saw our allotment, like I said, I think I did run in I did. I ran in the office in there hollering and screaming and carrying on. They know I get a little weird. So for Aransas Pass ISD, for ESSER 3 relief funds that can be used, this is basically to help that closing the gap, closing the learning loss that we've had with all of these students, and provide for that emotional, social support that we're going to need. So we appreciate that the federal government and the state have seen that we have a enormous task before us, lots of challenges, and we've already been, before we got this, we've already been working on what we're going to do and what we wish we could do. If only we had the money, we could do this and this. We have the money now. So I needed a drum roll. So our initial allocation that once we fill out the application's just a process. You put it in, tell them your plan. So our first cut will be $3,228,785. Our remaining,
Guaranteed?
yes, ma'am. Our remaining allocation is $1,614,393 for a grand total of $4,843,178.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So
We got to find we have to find a way to use that, right?
I found it.
Don't give a woman money.
Yeah. This
She has this list.
Now, is some of that reimbursed for the Chromebooks and the other things?
No,
That's
can't
some
do
of
it.
that's another fund,
No,
right?
we've already been reimbursed for the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Remember, we already got reimbursed for the Chromebooks, so that was another grant. I forgot
Yeah.
what that one was called. No, believe me, we have gone after every penny that they had. We have run after it, and I have to really thank Shelley so much for so much, because she's a great grant writer and everything. So Shelley has done a tremendous job anytime we had to go after that. Jason Brew and Miss Stansberry with going after getting all the information in to get the money back for the Chromebooks. So I mean, it's a team effort here. So this one is this is basically a blessing that's been given to us, so we have been discussing, the grant is for a 3-year period. We have till September of 2024, yes, 24, to spend this. So what we're looking at is a 3-year, what we would do this next year and we feel like the first year will be heavy. We'll probably spend more that first year, because we want to hit it fast and hard. We want to put in place for these students what they need. The second year probably be similar, maybe start saying, well, maybe we don't need that piece anymore because they're doing pretty good after we evaluate. And by the third year, we really want to start trying to phase it out, because they are allowing this money to supplant things. Normally, when you have federal funding, you can't supplant something that you normally do, that you already pay for, but they've waived all of that. So that is another huge blessing, because we probably would have had problems spending this if that was the case, and when they put those strings. So they took the strings off of it. So by that third year, though, we want to start really trying to phase out anything, because by that fourth, unless we have found a way to fund it, we would have to get rid of those things. So any positions we're hiring, anything we're doing, we're making sure that we're being very careful to know that if we pay for it with these funds now, that we have some plan that by that fourth year, we're either knowing we're not going to need that or use that anymore, or you need those positions anymore, or we're going to work towards finding a way to fund it through our budget. So here are some just basic ideas for you to kind of think about. We're going to be having a town hall. I was going to write, what did I call it? A town hall meeting via Zoom next, what was the date? The 19th? Was that Tuesday? The 18th. The 18th. May 18th at 7:00 p.m. because one of the things we have to do is get input from all stakeholders. And so that's the way we're going to do it, because we have to do it by May 23rd. So the turnaround's real quick. And trying to, get everybody in a room and all that. So we're going to start pushing that out tomorrow so that they'll know how to go to the link, go in, and then we'll share with them our basic framework of what we're looking at, what we're trying to do, and then get input via where they'll post in the chat. We may ask some questions. They'll answer some questions. We're not going to do a bunch of talking because that could take forever. So I'm basically going to share it out and then say, we need your input. Do you think we're on the right track? You have any other ideas? Because we want all stakeholders to be a part of this. So here are some basic framework ideas that we have already thought of that we were thinking about, working on, and wishing for, and now we're going to have the funding to do it. And even with all this, I still only spent 1.6. So I said, whew, I figured we'd spend half of it. One thing we're looking at is hiring a literacy specialist, because we have to do reading academies now for pre-K through kinder through third grade, and we want to have a literacy specialist to help them with that, because that's one of the areas we're very concerned about, is that loss of the reading learning, literacy learning due to this pandemic. So having a reading specialist come up alongside our teachers as they're getting all this training to support them and encourage them and give them the best support we can possibly give them, because we don't have time to try anything. We got to get it right the first time. We have to be on our A+ game, is what I'm saying, when we hit the ground in August, because we owe it to these kids to give them the best. We're going, how we did coaching for all of our core teachers this year with Engage to Learn, which was a tremendous support to them because they really were struggling. We had to pivot and recreate. They had the coaches, each one of them had a coach that they had contact with anytime they needed, and then they did a lot of it virtually this year. They had at least 7 times where they actually talked with them and worked with them about what should it look like in your classroom, going back to our Panther pathway, all those things we've done, the learning framework, blended learning. So with this money, what we'd like to do is every teacher in the entire district, I don't care if you teach PE, music, whatever you teach, you have a coach, so that you have that support and encouragement to use best practices and do your very best. Instead of just saying, we need you to go out there and do it differently, we want the experts to come in here and help us, because there's no way that our principals can give that kind of support to everyone. Now, our principals will be, we're trying to wean off of that so that eventually our APs and our principals will be the coaches long term. But right now, with this, this task before us, we felt like giving that support to them will put us leaps and bounds above. Because I've always said, looking through education, we have all these initiatives, and you put things out, and you buy this, and you do that. But if you don't support it and make it important enough that you say, no, this is what we're doing, and we're going to help you learn how to do it and be the best at it, that's always been the missing piece. Is we tend to say, here, you send them to a one-day training and expect them to go back to their classroom and figure it out. The easiest thing to do is just revert back to what you knew. But when you have coaching, it challenges you, it pushes you. So we're also looking at an RTI coordinator, response to intervention coordinator. So we're looking at adding some more hands on deck. Instead of just going and buying some quick fix program, having actual people to work with our kids and our teachers and ensure that the best is being done for them every day. The class size reduction piece, we're looking at this is where we were talking about making sure our classes stay small at our lower levels. We would be able to pay to add those teachers. We want our teachers to come back this summer and work toward their looking at the scope and sequence. And because we're going to have these kids coming in to like 3rd grade, but they have some learning loss in 2nd grade. So how, as a 3rd grade teacher, do I go back and pick that up for them while I keep moving them forward at the same time? That's huge. And we've always had some of that, but the gaps are going to be so big this time, we're fearful of. Maybe not. I mean, our teachers have worked so hard, we could see a whole miracle, but we're projecting, as the state and nation are, the gaps are going to be so large that the teachers are going to have to really think different about their scope and sequence. They need time this summer to do that. They're already tired, so we can pay them stipends to come back and sit. So we're looking at 3 days. They would get a stipend for each day to come back and really hone in and be as prepared as possible before school starts. We have middle school math interventionists. Looking at that, our math scores over at the middle school need some intervention. Dyslexia training. And then the big ones are tutoring after school next year, before and after school program, because AP for Youth is looking at not doing latchkey anymore, but latchkey was not really geared to the academic tutoring side. This way we can create a full-bodied, wonderful after-school program that's full of enrichment and academic assistance, and really help our kids not only have a safe place to go, but to have them be able to have some academic support that sometimes they don't get at home because the parents are working or whatever the case may be. Summer camps, we would have the money now for the next 2 to 3 years to do nice summer camps, summer learning, so we can prevent some of that summer slide from happening. So those are just some of our ideas. Like I said, that kind of came out to about 1.6 by the time we looked at it. But trying to do a full approach to what do we do during the school year, then what do we do during the summer, during the next 3 years to close these gaps up so that by the time we get to the end of the 3 years that our kids are not only we're back on target, but we want them above it. We want them to be at the meets and masters level. We don't want to just settle for the status quo. We're pushing to do everything we can as quickly as we can to get those kids where they need to be, because our high school students, they don't have time for us to sit around and figure this out. We've got to do it quickly, and every day we lose, even with our babies, that compounds their difficulty, and then they start acting out, and it just has a vicious cycle. So anyway, as you can tell, I could talk about this all night, so I'll hush now on that. But I wanted to share this with you. I was going to put it in the weekly update, and I thought, no, I want to see their faces because this is a blessing. We have several other grants out there that we're waiting on. We went for the 21st Century Grant, which is about $600,000. We were chosen to be interviewed today, so we feel like we are definitely in the running for that. So if I didn't mess it up today by the way I answered the questions, anyway, because she wrote it really well, but I may have blown it today. But so we're hoping by the end of May we have received that one, and then we have a couple other small ones. So we're going after everything we can find to provide the funding we need so we can we're just going to pour it on these kids from every direction, and these families. A lot of this will have to do with family engagement too. Training our families, how can they help their students, how can they be involved in the district, building that pride back into our district, all those things. So I'm always excited when I get up and come to work. I really am. Some days I may drag a little more than others just because I'm getting older. But I'll tell you, I can't hardly wait to get to work right now because I'm like, we get to spend $4.8 million. That's a nice place to be. Because we're going to be able to do so much that we would not have been able to do without this. So anyway, any questions on that?
Just quickly, when you say the class size reduction, which I think is just ideal and awesome and usually unrealistic, but with this situation, and you say lower levels, 3rd grade and under, or what's considered lower levels?
Well, right now where we need it is 1st grade because I absorb those, trying to get us to a balanced budget. And so we're going to work really hard to see if we can still put those in the budget because I'd rather not have them in this 3-year grant. But if we have to have them here and wait for our enrollment to keep going up, that might help us, give us a little time. That'll be one we'll have to watch very closely. But 1st grade we need, and 3rd and 4th, because we absorbed those positions this past year. I need to put them back. As a matter of fact, they're already hiring for them because I was already taking a step of faith. Before I knew about this, Cheryl and I talked about it. I said, we've got to do this. We owe it to these kids to do this, and then we're just going to believe and trust it's going to work out. And so I'm going to tell you, that was probably why I was most excited, because it had been really making me nervous thinking I just approved $180,000, and then it might not look good when I brought you a budget. So anyway, so
in that same mindset, do we have the space to add those to that?
Yes, if you'll
Basically, it's all
remember
Charlie
when we,
Marshall.
yes, we have two, is it 2 or 3? 2 extra classrooms for each grade level at Falk. And then you have this whole building eventually, this whole wing once we move out of it. And we have some that are going to start moving to Keyburger.
Okay.
So slowly we're going to move out of here. But they still have room now to add those teachers back.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
When does the first allotment become available?
The end of May.
End of
And
May.
it's retroactive back to March. So even there's some things that we had done in March. So I mean, I've never seen them do a grant like this. They removed the strings. They're doing it very quickly to get the money to us as fast as they can. So so we're just that's why we're posting right and left for things, and we're rolling. We're getting it ready to go. We'll have that meeting on next Tuesday. And we'll have our plan written up and ready to submit it before the 23rd. And then,
So your principals, we've already got those job openings posted on the website?
well, not all of these. We have now the class for the classes 1st, 3rd, and 4th. Yes.
Yeah, those need certification because
Yes.
you use a lot, you know, it's going to be hard getting teachers right now.
Yes,
You know, and you know, because a lot of them are getting out of it.
Yes.
And that, so it may be a hard time to try to get more
we
teachers to fill those
actually,
positions.
you'll see tonight. I'm bringing to you. We're ready to bring them to you to be hired. Because I said as soon as we think we're going to hire something, we're posting it, and then if we know for sure that we can afford it, then we're locking them in and we're bringing them to you. And that's why I'm asking later for you to allow me to have a little more flexibility, because normally it's June when I start being able to just hire them and then bring them to you for information. Because of that very reason, I really need to be able to do it, because as soon as we find a good candidate, we're having to snatch them up because they're being pulled every direction.
Because if you don't sign a contract with them, they're going to get a
Yes,
contract someplace else.
Yes, and we've already lost some due to that.
Okay, the next item is the TASB advocacy resolution. In your board package is a form letter from TASB. Basically, they're requesting any school board that wants to submit a new resolution for the advocacy agenda. The deadline is 11:59 on June the 15th. There's an application form, so if there's any topic or anything that you would like to see us as a school board adopt, it would have to be presented to us at the next board meeting for us to submit to them for consideration. So if you're interested in doing something like that, please reach out to Ms. Cook, and then we can put it on the agenda for the next board meeting. But all the information's here in the forms. With that, I'm gonna move on to the financial reports. The first financial report is A, accounts payable. This is just general housekeeping. Does anybody have any questions on the accounts payable? And these are all information items. They don't require any action. B is the budget status and investment report. For our new board members, this report will show you what our estimated revenue was for the year, how much we've realized to date, and how much has not been expended, along with the different departments that the money's allocated to. Does anybody have any questions on the status report, budget status report?
Just I didn't want to assume, but the capital improvements, that's because of the bond programs. We didn't have the.
Capital improvements is because of the concession stand in the softball, baseball fields.
Because we didn't have anything in the prior 3 years. That's because of the current.
Yeah, those projects were completed the other physical year. That's correct. The next report is the tax collection report. You'll see this on a monthly basis. Basically, it'll tell you how much the tax was levied. For this current year, 2020, the tax levy was $8,933,087. There was an adjustment of $355,703. So our adjusted tax roll was $9,288,791. The prior month's collections were $8,117,140.28. Current month collections was $298,546 for total collections of $8,415,686.58. So the balance that hasn't been collected on the current row was $873,104. As you move down the report, you'll see the percentages as of those dates that was collected. And then you'll also see a summary of the delinquent taxes. That's what's delinquent on our books. We're looking at $1,919,144.32. And as a board, we've contracted out with tax attorneys who are basically our collection agency. And at some point, when they're not able to collect the tax, then they foreclose on the property, and we go to the courthouse and sell it off to try to recoup and put it back on the tax roll. This report was for March 31st. On the back end is the report for April 30th. We were 1 month behind. But if you look at those two reports, that'll show you where we're at. Our total outstanding delinquent taxes as of April 30th is $2,455,585.94. Does anybody have any questions? If there are no questions, I'll move on to the bond finance report. And just for the new trustees, this is a summary of the bond projects. As you'll recall, we did a new elementary. As of April 30th, that project has closed out, and of course, we're in Falk now. Same thing with the new high school. And then you'll see the new concession stand, which will also include the baseball and softball projects that we're doing. Anybody have any questions on the bond finance report? The next project report is FEMA. And that is what we talked about earlier, about having that money obligated and being funded back to us at the end of August is the projected date. You will see, and Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 21 projects?
Yes.
There were a total 21 projects that we applied for funds from FEMA. All the ones on the top under payments received have been funded, so we have received some of the FEMA money. At the bottom of the page, it says APISD's FEMA projects payment pending. High school, AC Blunt, baseball, softball, Old Bus Barn, and the PAP deck. So that's the money that we're talking about that we're expecting to come back to us to help us fund this project that we're doing.
Oh, okay.
So Ms. Stansberry and the FEMA representative, I think, meet monthly to go over the report and get a status update of where we're at on that. So.
I think we have everything in now. I think the last meeting we had was pretty much, they were still requesting anything else. They seem to sometimes come up with more. I thought it was almost done.
Yeah, well, no, in fact, I've gotten an email from another contact that I've never heard of before, but he's saying that they have now moved the high school and the Blunt reimbursements to the next stage, so it's we're
Closer.
getting closer to getting
Right.
that money.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so at this time, the estimated amount of funds for these projects is the 2.2 million,
Mm-hmm.
and that will go to replenish our
Fund balance.
fund balance?
Correct.
But didn't we move over 3.2 million?
Yes. That was an investment that the board decided to do over all the years of not moving forward with any projects because we couldn't afford to, that we had built our fund balance to a point that we could make an investment. And we chose to go ahead and invest additional dollars out of our savings account or our fund balance in addition to what that FEMA amount was.
Okay.
So you basically have two funding sources, our savings account
There.
plus FEMA.
Okay.
We want to do it right.
Oh, no, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something, that it was, and I appreciate the explanation. That, that earlier we were talking about 3.2 was moved over.
Right.
And we were saying FEMA was gonna reimburse it. I didn't wanna leave thinking it was gonna be
Right.
all FEMA.
Not totally.
No, because the,
But we're self-funding some of it, yes.
Yeah, like people do.
yeah, because you'll see in the bond project, the actual facilities construction is 4.5. And then you have all the fees and all that, it's 4.9. So there was quite a commitment made by the board to do it to that level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then any of these other things now that we have to pull will have to come out of fund balance.
Correct. The next item is agenda item number 9, to consider approve the minutes of the April 12th, 2021 regular board meeting. The minutes are in your board book. Does anybody have any corrections? There are no corrections. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12th meeting?
So, second.
I have a motion by Ms. Diostis, a second by Mr. Mullinack. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Agenda item number 10 is to consider and approve Texas Multi-Chem TMC Sports Turf to complete the irrigation and redressing of the fields at the athletic complex and approve a project amount. Ms. Cook?
Okay, the project of doing the fields was separate from the construction project. And so to help everyone remember, because it's been a while since we did this, how we got to this point, if you'll remember when we first started, the plan was with the athletic complex and the concession stand and doing, we had to first look at the drainage. We did a drainage study to ensure that it drained properly. So when we did that, they brought back to us, we need to put those culverts. You know, we could have had these big open swells and stuff, but, you know, the board rightly so wanted to do something that was, you know, looked nice and so forth. So we have the big culverts going in with all the sidewalks on top. So once that was determined to be done, then it came to the fact that it came to our attention that because of that, the fields were, when you stepped off the sidewalks and where the culverts are, it was going to be an 18-inch drop down to our fields. So we had to come back because the original plan was never to totally redo the fields. That was not part of the original plan. It was just going to be some work to be done. So once that was determined, the best way to proceed was that is they're taking the dirt that they've dug up from the culverts, and a lot of those dirt mounds are going to spread it out and basically build up both of our fields. So when you do that, though, you basically are starting from scratch now. We have some irrigation system under there, but the irrigation on both of the fields was not very good, so we needed to change that out in order for the grass to grow and be nice. The irrigation on the practice field, we think it's something that can be repurposed and redone, so we're not going to propose that we totally redo that piece yet, hopefully that it will work. So that has brought us now to, okay, what we thought was going to be a smaller project, just like when you remodel, here we are to do it right and for it to look well. The most important pieces of an athletic complex would be your fields. The concession stand's nice, the entryway's nice, it's going to be beautiful, but if people go sit in our nice stands and look at a dead field, probably we will not be very popular. So it would behoove us to look at our fields. So Multi-Chem is the company that is on our buy board, and they have worked with us for years. They're the ones that have done our upkeep, done our fields, and so forth. So we went to them, and they're one of the top-rated companies to build new fields and redress them and so forth. So we asked them to give us a scope of work, knowing that our original thought was we were trying to stay around $200,000 is what we were thinking before all this had to happen. So they tried to break it down. So you'll see the first page is the scope of work for the baseball, softball practice, and an irrigation water storage. So for the baseball, softball, for this basic scope of work is, you can see, killing the existing grass, doing the irrigation system, this is sod seeding. It's some sod, some seeding. And the seeding, of course, will take time to grow. And that we're being told the seeding will never look as pretty as your sod because you're basically using, it just won't be to that same level when you sod it. And I think we know that from if you've tried to grow a yard from seed. It just usually end up going and getting sod. So that was the basic of doing a split of sod and seeding. The practice field being all seeding, but the problem with this is going to be where are we going to put the football team to practice, because the seeding will not, the field will not be ready for them to practice on this summer if you seed it. So that's something we were looking at considering too. But they were trying to give us the basic lowest cost they could give us to make this happen. The irrigation water storage tank, originally Weaver Jacobs had said 5,000 gallon tank, but with our well and the pressure that we have, it has been determined that we really need a 20,000 gallon storage tank. So we're going to get a credit from Weaver and Jacobs for that 5,000 tank that he talked about. They will use that credit to make the pad larger for this 20,000 gallon tank. And then this tank is included in here. Now, when I say a tank, it's where that black one currently is out there, which is like a focal point of you walking in. So this is a galvanized, very nice looking type. You've probably seen them, and if you've ever been to Waco, and they have you go out to the. I just lost my train of thought who those people are, but they have that nice galvanized tank. I understand Ingleside, I think, has not that I want to be compared to Ingleside, but Ingleside has one out by some of their fields. So we want it to look nice. We didn't want it to be the other option was to have 3 tanks, and we said, thank goodness they said no, absolutely no. We are not going to put 3 tanks out there. That would be very ugly. So with all of that, that's the basic. Felt like you really couldn't do less than this. That one comes to that number at the top of the next page, $221,968. And then we asked them, well, what other options, because they want to, of course, be honest with us and give us the best. So we already knew we had an issue with the practice field. Is where are we going to practice? Because that field won't be ready now. So we've thought of other options, but it was just going to tear up. If they practice on the football field, then when we go to the football games, that field's going to look horrible because they would have practiced on it. So just kind of hitting all kinds of challenges here. So the options were to sod the entire fields with TIF turf Bermuda grass, which is supposed to be the best and look fantastic. And then, so that would be an additional $48,000 for baseball, 15. You see those numbers for each field. They also had talked to us about if we wanted to install the new irrigation system on the practice field. We feel pretty confident that we can save that irrigation system, so we've kind of not considered that one at this point. The next 3, the grow-in program, the infield conditioner, and the top dressing of the fields, those are definitely needed for either way you go. Those are some basic, ensuring that you have nice-looking fields. The variable speed pump station, we investigated that. We talked about that all the way around. And though that would be very convenient and a very nice perk to have, it's not necessary. And so as from the administrative team standpoint, we feel like the system will work fine by zoning it and doing what it's supposed to be doing. We don't need this fancy variable speed pump. I mean, it would be nice, but just thinking, what do we really need? So with that said, I basically we have. I mean, you can work different options, but we were looking at it from 3 different points. Option 1 is that basic scope of work with half sod, half seeding, and then what do we do about football practice all through the summer and spring and fall. Option 2 is the basic scope of work with those items that we feel are definitely very much needed, is the grow-in program, the infield conditioner, and the top dress. That would put us at $233,264. From our standpoint as administrative team working with Weaver Jacobs and with Multicam, we feel that the option 2 is the minimum we would propose to you to ensure the fields have some quality. Option 3 would be the basic scope of work, but adding in except the practice field irrigation and the variable speed pump, taking those 2 out, which means what you're adding in is all the grow-in, the infield conditioner, the top dress, and sodding all fields, so that, including the practice field, so they all look good, they're all top rated, and we don't have any issues. They would be ready for practicing with the football team as early as they need to. That comes in at a cost of $334,549. Our recommendation is to go with option 3. And Mr. Galvan and the other board members probably know that's very hard for me to say because I am very frugal and I have tried to cut this thing every time we brought something to y'all. I've been like, I wish y'all wouldn't do that. But I feel like, and we feel like as a team, we've come this far. We've spent this much money. This is the most important part of the entire project. I would not propose to you to cut corners now. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do it best. This is for our kids. This is for their future. Let's do it. Let's do it. And then I'll keep looking for money elsewhere to fill in these gaps that we have. So questions you have, concerns?
Kara, Ms. Cook, you know how I feel about the proposals and how all this,
Yes.
when you go out for bids and how things keep changing. I just have a hard time with all these add-ons. How did we miss irrigation on a baseball field when we got a quote from people that were giving us quotes for these jobs?
We never got quotes for the fields were never included in it.
The netting, the
Well, the netting, no.
everything. We're redoing the fields. Why didn't we add irrigation to them? I just don't understand.
Well, as we got in the process, remember we had a conversation where, because if you go back, we weren't going to redo the fields. We were going to use those existing fields. There wasn't going to be anything done to them. So when we started talking about redoing them, then the questions, we hadn't asked those questions because we weren't planning on redoing them. We started saying, well, okay, so if we have to redo this and we put grass, well, is the irrigation system good enough to help this grass grow? Well, no, they've been piecemealing it, it's old, you know. It wasn't a part of that original plan. If you go back to the original scope of work for this project, it was a concession stand.
I remember that. That was
yeah.
the grant.
That
That's the
that
grant
was
money.
it.
Then
yeah.
we agreed to add to it to
Yes.
not compromise a look
Yes.
and what our kids deserve. So we
Right.
add $3-4 million to this project.
Yes,
So
we
now we've done that, and now in the last two items, we're adding another $400,000 to a project that we budgeted for. That's kind of hard to keep up with.
Well,
when we keep adding, I mean,
Well,
like when you build a
200
house, you can't keep just adding your wish list.
Well,
to it.
that's why we asked him to get it as close to the 200 because Todd had said that for what we needed to do on the fields was going to be about 200. That was stated months ago at the beginning of this project.
So at that point that we got with Weaver and Jacobs, we talked about guaranteeing maximum price, and we talked about a scope of work. And that was before we had decided, or we knew, that the raised elevation was gonna cause those fields to have to be raised up.
Yes.
And at that point, we did have a discussion with Todd, and the night that we were having that meeting, we were gonna have to come back a second time and include that in the project, or go ahead and approve the guaranteed maximum price that they had come with, knowing that we were gonna have to redress the fields, and it was gonna be somewhere around $200,000. At that point, the board made a decision to see it as a separate project. So we knew that this was coming. We didn't know that it was gonna be $300,000. We thought it was gonna be more around 200. So I mean, we knew at the time that we approved it.
Well,
that
and
there
it
was another
can be,
project.
it can still be 200 because you basically will sod and seed. We'll try to do the best we can. That's why we did it like this. So, because that's what you were told, the thought was it was going to be 200,000.
Which, I mean, you can get there, but you're gonna be
I-
shortchanging.
I'd like to see when we're getting bids that we're going to put everything in it so we don't keep having to re-budget and re-add. It just seems like these projects are, we're not planning well enough for them, I guess. We're not thinking far enough into them to.
But we did, you did know this was there back when you made that I wasn't here that night, so I don't know the whole discussion, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but that was out there because I made sure, I told them, I said, when I was out, because I think that's when I was out with COVID, I said, y'all make sure you say multiple times that they remember.
I remember that,
That
yeah.
is, because that was scary, because I knew y'all were about to approve a very large amount of money, and I wanted you to know, and so we could come back and I could say, yes.
With that being said,
yeah.
we're still 135,000 shy.
But you don't have to be. That's
I know, but
yes.
again, who wants to water it down at this point? You know, I'd like to see it on the table at the beginning instead of, you know, it looks good, let's approve it, and then we get halfway into it, and oh, well, we have a better idea if you really want to.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
we spent a lot of money, and we don't want to, I don't want to be the one to say no, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see it be very forthcoming and not a surprise in the back door.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I want to assure you that is not our intention at all. But I can tell you from experience that any time you do a project like this, it is very difficult going in to be able to gauge everything. It just is. I mean, I really feel like out of every project I've ever done, this one has gone the most smooth. Now, you know, me personally, do I think we should have done all that we've done? No, there's certain things I personally would have not if I'd been sitting in your seat, I would not have approved them. But that was y'all's choice, and we're making it happen. But I think this project has gone very well. I really think Weaver and Jacobs has worked well with us. Todd has worked hard. So just on that, I mean, I know. Do I like coming in telling y'all that it's $334,000 or that we got $96,000 that we got to spend? No, I mean, I wish that we could make it that clean. But when you're doing a remodel or construction, and there's just going to be unknowns, and that's what I tried to say at the very beginning of this project. Be very careful because you don't know what we still have to deal with. Because anytime, and this is just a lesson I think we need to learn as a board and as a team of 8, that hopefully we'll have another big project coming up soon. I'd love to talk to y'all about, but we need to go into it with eyes wide open and know there's always the other pieces you just can't foresee, and it is frustrating. I understand that. Believe me, I share your
Well, I just feel
angst
like
on
an
this.
irrigation system shouldn't have been the unforeseen. I really thought that was, I know you're saying that was the original 200 that we already approved, and they did. Wayne, or I think it was Wayne, emphasized that
Yes.
2 or 3 times in that meeting, that
Yeah.
that was not included in the numbers we were seeing, and I totally understand that. It's just.
And I think that's all that was. The original was to irrigate the softball and baseball. That was it, and to redress it. It was
Was it
going to
just
be
a redressing?
It was going to redress because the field was still supposed to be
It wasn't
still
gonna be elevated at
intact.
that
We
point.
were just going to do the irrigation system. We were going to redress it. That was it. But now we're about to put 18 inches of dirt on top of the field, and that's what has brought this
Added
on.
to the cost.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a
Thank you.
reason that the architects missed that 18 inches were going to affect the fields? I mean, usually before doing a project like this, they would have suggested doing a survey, and that would have eliminated.
Well, we had a survey done, and Todd would have to speak to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not my area of expertise, but I do know that it has to do with the culverts. When we put the culverts in and the way they had to build them up and where the flow, I don't know how that was missed and at what point they realized that, but we could get that information for you.
Because I feel like if that's something they miss, they technically should be forking over a little bit of the cost. If it was my job site, that's something that if they missed it and it was going to cost me an extra $100,000, we'd be having a conversation about that for sure.
Well, I mean, if as you as a board so wish for me to investigate that further and go back and see if we can find out where the.
I think you can have a conversation on it, but I don't know so much that, I mean, we're hindsight, you know, it's 2020. You know, we're at where we're at. We're either gonna approve one of these options tonight, and I mean, we said from the day one that we didn't want to cut corners on anything. So I mean, it's basically whatever's up to the board. I mean, I'm going to recommend that we go with option 3 and open it up to discussion. Does anybody feel differently than that?
Cheryl, your recommendation financially is, we're solid?
When we've got the money that we pull from fund balance, that this is still within those limits.
Okay.
I personally agree with going with option 3, only because I think it would cost more money in the long run if we didn't do it, to have to go back and redo everything. That just wouldn't make sense. But I do think that if it is possible, I would think we should look into how we miss the elevation, only because on the tail end, as we finish paying out the contractors, that is something that we could negotiate on the table. Just my personal point of view, not to affect the moving forward of the project or the timeline, but to affect the final dollar amount.
Well, we have a guaranteed maximum price contract, so I mean, we can ask Todd just for an explanation. He can give that to you and then you can report
Yeah.
back.
Well, see, this one's separate because the guaranteed maximum price is on your other piece. This is a totally separate piece.
I'm referring back to where in that process did we not account for the raised
Right.
elevation?
Oh, in that, okay.
Just an explanation.
Yes, I've written it down and I will do some investigating.
Thank you.
Are you referring to the raised elevation of the fields or?
The culvert, they had to go 18 inches higher.
Okay.
To bring it up 18 inches higher, why we have to bring all the soil in for the field to bring them up so that it doesn't, you know,
Okay.
so you don't have that big drop off.
Are there any other questions? There are no other questions. Do I have a motion to approve option 3 as the basic scope of work with options except practice field, new irrigation, and variable speed pump station at $334,549?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Mullinak. Do I have a second? A second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you, Ms. Cook. 10B is to consider and approve policy changes affecting local policies. So just for background information, and Juanice, you may have experience with the city of Corpus. One of our associations is the Texas Association of School Boards. So anytime we have policy updates, they usually have writers that are going to make sure that our policies coincide with whatever the legislative updates that come in. So policies change periodically.
Okay.
When they do change, they bring us an update, and we usually have a first reading. So these policies that they're referring to here, DBA, DK, EB, and FEC, we had a first reading last month. So then our best practice is we have our first reading, and then the next meeting we have a second reading for approval.
Okay.
So unfortunately, as it falls out, we had first reading last month, so we're actually approving these policies tonight. But you can access all our district policies on the webpage if you guys have searched on there. Just go to board policy, and you can see all the policies written in there. And then if you have any questions, you can go to the policy guru over there and ask her, because she looks at it more than we do, but.
Yeah. And then I'll call Blaze now.
So does anybody have any questions on the policy changes affecting our local policies?
And these are all in reference to, this was a cleanup from the District of Innovation that we passed. This was some of our policies had not ever, I don't know what happened. Maybe that's right around, I'll blame it on COVID. We blamed everything else on COVID. But somehow our policies were not reflective of some of the changes we made in the District of Innovation that the board had approved. So this is just housekeeping to clean up so we're in sync.
Does anybody have any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve policy changes affecting local policies DBA, DK, EB, and FEC? I have a motion by Ms. Diasas. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Flores. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 10C is to consider approve a local teaching certificate utilizing the District of Innovation option for Valerie Harvey to serve as a middle school theater arts teacher. Ms. Cook.
Well, this is the first time for us to use our District of Innovation, and it's a great opportunity that we found when we were doing staffing. Ms. Harvey has been working for over 10 years with Ms. Vyar, which has a very successful theater arts program, so now we'd like to pull her over into this capacity at the middle school so we can grow that program from the middle school and feed into the high school program. She will still be working one period a day with Ms. Harvey at the high school as she mentors her. We'll have a professional development plan in place as part of this local certification, which is part of our District of Innovation process. So you see all the information here in this document. We feel very confident she will do a very good job. She's very excited. So we bring this to you tonight as a proposal recommendation to hire her. It's a 1-year local certification to be reevaluated and brought back to you each year.
Anybody have any questions? If there are no questions, I have a motion to approve a local teaching certificate utilizing the District of Innovation option for Ms. Harvey to serve as the middle school theater arts teacher.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Diossis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Molinak. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. 10D is to consider approve delegation of authority to the superintendent to employ classroom teachers beginning May the 11th to August the 31st.
So moved.
I referenced this earlier. This is just the pool of teachers is very small, so the sooner we can have a contract in their hand, the better. So I'd like to request to be able to do that a little sooner. Our policy we put in here normally is the 1st of June till the end of August, but if I could have this beginning tomorrow, so as soon as we have them, we can get them to sign on the dotted line.
Oh, okay.
Board have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve delegation of authority to the superintendent to employ classroom teachers beginning May 11th to August the 31st? I have a motion by Ms. Diossis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Butler. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. 10E is to consider approved depository contract. The business office went out for depository services. Inside your board book is the inter-office memorandum detailing their recommendation to choose Prosperity Bank. Does anybody have any questions?
Just have a question. Did we only have 3 banks respond to requests for bids?
Excuse me. The 3 banks, we only had 2 that responded. We aren't allowed to use credit unions, so within the district, that's all we have.
Okay.
Was those 3 banks. And Prosperity, we've been with them for the last 8 years. They have once again waived all of their fees. It costs us nothing to bank with them. And then their interest rate that they would pay for our interest-bearing accounts is still higher than Value Bank. So.
Does anybody else have any questions? Do I have a motion to approve Prosperity Bank for our depository services?
So moved. Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Molinak. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Diossis. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. 10F is to consider approve modifying or eliminating the mask-related requirements from the period of June 1st to July 31st. That's good.
As you know, we're progressing. You're hearing things in the news and things have been changing. So as we look at the summer months, the majority of it will be the staff that works during the summer in our offices, mainly here at administration. We do have some small summer, we're not doing a full-blown summer school, so we will have a few students on campuses doing summer work through our ESL program and credit recovery and things like that. So at this time, I think because we have 75% of our staff that has been vaccinated, and most of us work, and we're very good about keeping our distance. I think we'll always have some of that now. Our recommendation at this point would be to allow masks to be optional for the summer for staff, except when they're working with students. If they're working close with students, the students would still be wearing their mask, and the teacher or the person working with the students would wear their mask, unless, because we heard today that they're looking to remove all masks indoors. So if CDC came out with that, then, so I guess you could, if we could, I would say at this point, if we could at least have, if you feel good about it, optional for adults unless working with children, that would be fine, or optional for adults working with unless working with children, unless CDC deems it appropriate for masks to be removed. I mean, whatever comfort level you have. I mean, we just feel like there's time for us to make that next progression this summer, and then we'll come back to you in July and see what the landscape of everything is to determine what it's going to look like when school starts. So we're open to your thoughts, your feelings. It's kind of a hard decision to make.
Yes.
Will students still be required to wear masks?
That's up to you. That's what I'm saying. We would say,
There's no summer
we're
school this
saying
year.
we would still require the students this summer to do masks while they're with and the teacher when she's working with them. Is what our
We are having
initial.
summer school this summer.
We
Credit
do have
recovery.
credit recovery, and we have ESL students who will be on campuses.
So what your recommendation is to not require our staff to wear masks unless they're working with students?
Right.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
What if they're not vaccinated?
Well, I mean, once again, you as a board can make that determination. We're probably going to have to look. I'll probably have to check with legal counsel what our stance can be on that. If that's something you want me to investigate for the future, because I know there's some things out there about that with some companies trying to mandate that you can't do this if you're not vaccinated. But I think there's going to be some legal issues with that. So if you want that, I'll have to do some investigating on it.
Well, I think even if they have vaccinated, I don't think I've read anything that said that you still can't be asymptomatic yourself. And
Yes.
transmit it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that data hasn't been proven yet.
Right.
So therefore, for the safety of the kid, I think we need to kind of lean towards making sure that we keep our students as safe as possible.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we were leaning right now, just until we have more information. And then, by June, we may know more and have more to bring back to you. But I think today, based off of what we know, and really it's kind of like a trial run here, because we're pretty much all in different offices during the summer anyway, except when those teachers are out working with kids. And that's why we thought that the mask requirement still needs to be there. And then, of course, when we all come in to sit in a room together, we're very careful to sit far apart or put our masks back on. And I think everyone will be very careful with that.
I think amongst the adults, I don't see a problem with it. And just like when they're around the kids, I do understand that. Since the kids are going to be wearing them, I think the adults are around them should be wearing them.
Definitely.
So that would protect them and
Right.
themselves. So
Right.
And again, the teachers or the employees have the option to wear the mask, even if they don't, we're not making it mandatory they have to. So if somebody want to come into your meeting and wear a mask in there, they can still do
Yes.
so.
Oh, yes.
So they have that option,
Yes.
so.
I'm in favor if we're requiring students to continue wearing them, then staff or employees in any regard should demonstrate the same.
If they're working with them.
If they're working.
But if they're not working with them, you're
Right.
fine, okay.
Yes.
Anybody else have any comments? So I'll be careful here. Do I have a motion to approve eliminating mask-related requirements unless working with children from June the 1st to July 31st?
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Molinak.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Rector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Agenda item number 11 is discussion item. This is part of our regular agenda every month. If there's any topics you would like administration to present to us at our next meeting, this would be a time to ask for that. But normally it's we ask, does anybody have anything they want to add for a meeting or any topics?
I'd just like to get a briefing on that safety concealed weapon or
And
program or.
I told you they were going to bring it up.
I can't stand
I
it.
told him last week,
I knew, I
I
was
said,
thinking the same
I said, Wayne, pull all that out. We got to start working on it. I said, I want to be ahead of them. So when they ask, I can say, we're working on it.
Well, I know the
we
foundation's
are.
all there, but I
Yes.
don't know where we're at on,
Yeah.
did we pick
We just-
anybody? Have we trained anybody? And
No, we haven't.
with
We
the
haven't.
mental health issues, I think
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
very important to us to
Yes.
go into next year, hopefully with some ground moving forward. I know COVID put it all on the back burner.
And
but-
Yes.
at the point, because of the sensitivity of the topic, And for the protection of our staff and our students, we'll do that in executive session.
Yes.
So when we listen.
Yeah, well, he's been already pulled it out. We're looking at, because a lot of it came to a standstill as far as getting the training, and it was
Right.
just, we just couldn't move forward. So, but yes, we have
Okay.
pulled that out of the
Thank you.
drawer and working on it.
Anybody else? Good? Okay. Agenda item 12 is to convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.001, concerning any and all purposes permitted by the Act, Section 551.074, discussing personnel, resignation, and new hires. Let the record reflect the time is now 9:10, and the board is convening an executive session.